2. Willfulness. As discussed, to establish a criminal campaign finance violation, the government must prove that the defendant acted knowingly and willfully. 52 U.S.C. squiggly mark 30109 little d 1 big A little I. That standard requires proof that the defendant knew generally that his conduct was unlawful. Election Offenses 123. Given the uncertainties noted above, the willfulness requirement would pose a substantial barrier to prosecution. 3. Little I, constitutional considerations. Finally, the First Amendment could pose constraints on a prosecution. Redacted, large chunk of redacted material with the words harm to ongoing matter floating on top in white sans serif font. 4. Little I, analysis as to redacted word or words with the capital letters HOM floating on top, followed by another long paragraph of redacted material with the words harm to ongoing matter floating on top, and that is also followed by 2 short paragraphs of redacted material with the words harm to ongoing matter floating on top. 4. False statements and obstruction of the investigation. The office determined that certain individuals associated with the campaign lied to investigators about campaign contacts with Russia and have taken other actions to interfere with the investigation. As explained below, the office therefore charged some U.S. persons connected to the campaign with false statements and obstruction offenses. Little a, overview of governing law. False statements. The principal federal statute criminalizing false statements to government investigators is 18 U.S.C. Statute 1001. As relevant here, under Section 1001A2, it is a crime to knowingly and willingly, quote, make any materially false, fictitious, or fraudulent statement or representation, and, quote, in any matter within the jurisdiction of the executive branch of the government, end quote. An FBI investigation is a matter within the executive branch's jurisdiction. United States v. Rogers, 466 U.S. 475, 479, 1984. The statute also applies to a subset of legislative branch actions, viz. Administrative matters, end quote, investigations or reviews, end quote, conducted by a congressional committee or subcommittee, 18 U.S.C. Statute 1001C1 and 2C, United States v. Pickett, 353 F3D 6266 D.C. Circuit, 2004. Whether the statement was made to law enforcement or congressional investigators, the government must prove beyond a reasonable doubt the same basic non-jurisdictional elements. The statement was false, fictitious, or fraudulent. The defendant knew both that it was false and that it was unlawful to make a false statement, and the false statement was material. See, e.g., United States v. Smith, 831 F3D 1207, 1222, N27, 9th Circuit, 2017, listing elements. See also 9th Circuit Pattern Instruction 8.73 and CMT, explaining that the Section 1001 jury instruction was modified in light of the Department of Justice's position that the phrase, quote, knowingly and willfully in the statute requires the defendant's knowledge that his or her conduct was unlawful. In the D.C. Circuit, the government must prove that the statement was actually false. A statement that is misleading but literally true, quote unquote, does not satisfy Section 1001A2. See United States v. Milton, 8F3D 3945, D.C. Circuit, 1993. United States v. Dale, 991 F2D 819, 832-33, and N22, D.C. Circuit, 1993. For that false statement to qualify as material, it must have a natural tendency to influence or be capable of influencing a discrete decision or any other function of the agency to which it is addressed. See United States v. Gowden, 515 U.S. 506, 509, 1995, United States v. Moore, 612 F3D 698, 701, D.C. Circuit, 2010. Perjury. Under the federal perjury statutes, it is a crime for a witness testifying under oath before a grand jury to knowingly make any false material declaration. See 18 U.S.C. Statute 1623. The government must prove 4 elements beyond a reasonable doubt to obtain a conviction under Section 1623A. The defendant testified under oath before a federal grand jury. The defendant's testimony was false in one or more respects. The false testimony concerned matters that were material to the grand jury investigation, and the false testimony was knowingly given. United States v. Bridges 717 F2D 1444, 1449, and 30 D.C. Circuit 1983. The General Perjury Statute, 18 U.S.C. Statute 1621, also applies to grand jury testimony and has similar elements, except that it requires that the witness have acted willfully and that the government satisfy, quote, strict common law requirements for established falsity, end quote. See Dunn v. United States, 442 U.S. 100, 106, and N6, 1979, explaining the two-witness rule and the corroboration that it demands. Obstruction of justice. Three basic elements are common to the obstruction statutes pertinent to this office's charging decisions: an obstructive act, some form of nexus between the obstructive act and an official proceeding, and criminal, i.e. corrupt, intent. A detailed discussion of those elements in the law governing obstruction of justice more generally is included in Volume 2 of the report. Little b. Application to certain individuals. Little I. George Papadopoulos. Investigators approached Papadopoulos for an interview based on his role as a foreign policy advisor to the Trump campaign and his suggestion to a foreign government representative that Russia had indicated that it could assist the campaign through the anonymous release of information damaging the candidate Clinton. On January 27, 2017, Papadopoulos agreed to be interviewed by FBI agents who informed him that the interview was part of the investigation into potential Russian government interference in the 2016 presidential election. During the interview, Papadopoulos lied about the timing, extent, and nature of his communications with Joseph Mifsud, Olga Polanskaya, and Ivan Timofeyev. With respect to timing, Papadopoulos acknowledged that he had met Mifsud, and that Mifsud told him the Russians had, quote-unquote, dirt on Clinton in the form of, quote, thousands of emails. But Papadopoulos stated multiple times that those communications occurred before he joined the Trump campaign, and that it was a, quote, very strange coincidence, unquote, to be told of the dirt before he started working for the campaign. This account was false. Papadopoulos met Mifsud for the first time on approximately March 14, 2016, after Papadopoulos had already learned he would be a foreign policy advisor for the campaign. Mifsud showed interest in Papadopoulos only after learning of his role on the campaign. And Mifsud told Papadopoulos about the Russians possessing dirt on candidate Clinton in late April 2016, more than a month after Papadopoulos had joined the campaign